All right, welcome back to another After Dark, everyone. Hope you guys are having a wonderful night so far. Hope you guys had a good day. I wanted to check out this video for a couple of weeks now. And this is not a request. This was something I saw on my feed by myself, and then I got caught up with with all the requests lately. But not that I mind. I love the requests. Seriously, it's what pushes this channel forward. It's like a full community here. But I wanted to check this one out. I don't know if you guys have seen this yet. This is by the GOAT Authority, which I don't think I've ever seen a video from. And it's called How a Coach Who Only Used One Tactic Destroyed Everyone. And it's about time we react to a video dedicated to Phil Jackson. And I want to say his greatness as a coach, but also his uniqueness as a coach. He did not create the triangle. He implemented the triangle. His partner was Tex, and Tex actually not invented the triangle. I don't believe. Actually, did Tex invent it? Tex might have invented it. I'm not sure, but either way, Tex was just a huge advocate for it one way or another. I'm sure we're going to see that in this video. But as far as like him being the Zen master as a coach, I think he is a very unique dude. I've never seen a coach exactly like him, and I think he was the only guy who could manage these major egos that he was dealing with, especially when it came to Shaq and Kobe. That was like the highest egos he could ever imagine. And it also makes me wonder, what if Phil Jackson got a chance to coach some of these super teams? Because we know a lot of the problem with the super teams is there's an ego problem, and there's no, we have a situation where it's like you have one guy and then like the role players, and turning stars into role players, not always a good idea. But if you were running the triangle and like meditating after the games and reading books together and stuff, he might have been able to bring these teams together and just play as a solid unit. But anyways, I'm blabbing so much in the beginning. As always, the link to the video is going to be down below. If you want to watch it without my commentary, go ahead. Like this video, please. I'd really appreciate it. It helps out a ton. And I don't imagine a Phil Jackson video being very popular, but dude, this is I would love to do something like this for Popovich too. Just throwing that out there, and Pat Riley, all great coaches. All right, everyone, you ready? Let's see how a coach who only used one tactic destroyed everyone. 11 rings, man.
Phil Jackson is regarded as the greatest NBA coach the world has ever seen. With the 11 rings, 13 trips to the finals in 20 seasons, and the winner of 3 out of the 5 three-peats in NBA history, many wonder how he achieved so much success. Well, it all comes down to one secret tactic that allowed him to destroy everyone for over 2 decades. A strategy so good that it even made Michael Jordan into the legend he is today. But how did he get superstars to embrace this unique approach? And what was the hidden key to his ability to create championship-winning teams time and time again? Well, the more you learn about Phil Jackson, the more it makes sense about why he was so successful and had such ridiculous win rates.
Spectacular passes, move the ball, and move it on.
I think of really only one coach for that Bulls team, and that would be Phil Jackson.
In the years following his successful playing career with 2 championships on the New York Knicks teams, Phil Jackson immediately began his coaching career. His desire to lead, his desire to win meant he did not just want to be an assistant coach. He began his head coaching career in the Puerto Rican League before moving to the Canadian Basketball League, winning his first coaching championship with the Albany Patroons in 1984. It was there he was also named Coach of the Year.
My coaching career actually started when I was with the New Jersey Nets. After a stint there, I left to head coach for a few years in the Albany Patroons and in Puerto Rico. I felt that being a head coach was probably better for me and my personality than staying with the NBA and being an assistant coach. And I think it paid off.
But how did he rise so quickly? It wasn't going to be easy, but it would only take 2 seasons to win his first title. How would he get Michael Jordan to buy in? At the core of Phil's extraordinary success as a coach was his unconventional and sum-of-the-parts coaching strategies. Heavily influenced by Eastern philosophy and Native American spiritual practices, Jackson's approach to coaching transcended the traditional X's and O's.
Yep, that's where he really came in, man.
It's also about a direct connection with the players, of adding something more than basketball, giving them perspective. You know, Phil did it with meditation, with books, try to expand our horizons, if you will, connect with us kind of personally and see how what could trigger each individual to perform better, right? To get the best from us.
There's something that can happen with the team if you don't only do one thing together, and that one thing is your job. For instance, in this case, play basketball, practice basketball, and then also like be into games, and we're all responsible for each other, we're all accountable with each other, and that's stressful. But when you do something as simple as like, hey, everybody, we're all going to read this book together. All right. And then every day we're going to talk about, the previous chapter or whatever. Now you're broadening the horizons of your unit. There's something else for you guys to discuss, something else for you to bond over, something else to talk about, And I think it's a brilliant way to bring a team together, especially a bunch of competitive professional athletes like we're looking at here. And I've never heard of any other coach doing this approach. And I always, since I was a kid, I thought this was brilliant. Like, this is the best way to grow a relationship, a friendship, or a work buddy, or whatever the case may be, is to do things outside of that work together, Anyways, just blabbing. I've always felt strongly about this.
Zen Master, as he was aptly nicknamed, met Tex Winter on the Chicago coaching staff and became obsessed with Winter's own strategies that were being rejected by the previous coach of the Bulls.
Yeah.
Bill believed he could develop these strategies into his own tactic that would be crucial for players to focus, center themselves, and ultimately achieve peak performance on the court.
We talked about mindfulness as being, as much as we pump iron and we run to build our strength up, we need to build our mental strength up. So we practiced mindfulness, is what you have to do.
The thing is, Jackson's entire central coaching principle was benching the ego. He firmly believed that coaching was not about the coach's glory, but about empowering the players to become leaders themselves. By delegating responsibilities and encouraging his players to take ownership of their roles, Jackson created a team dynamic where every player felt valued and invested in the collective success.
Yep.
He knew, simply, what it took to win basketball games. He understood how to make the connection to go from thinking about winning to actually winning.
You got to devote yourself to them in order to excel, to be different, to succeed.
This nuanced approach to ego management was a hallmark of Jackson's coaching style, as he tailored his methods to suit the unique needs and personalities of each player. His extraordinary empathy allowed him to understand each player's individual strengths, weaknesses, and motivation, enabling him to communicate with them in a way that simply no one else had. But this connection fostered trust and loyalty amongst his players, who were willing to buy into his system and ultimately embrace his unconventional methods.
Oh,
This
look at that
Zen
hook.
master-
Did you guys catch that? Look at his old man hook.
his system and ultimately embraces unconventional methods.
Bang!
This Zen master approach basically kept his players engaged and mentally sharp throughout long seasons. And not only is that important for just a singular season, but imagine three-peating 3 different times and almost a 4th time. It required him to make his players have a different level of engagement that superseded everybody else in the league.
Phil took us to the Staten Island ferry, and instead of practicing, we got on the ferry and just, went out.
At the heart of Jackson's coaching philosophy was the belief that creating a team culture where everyone could thrive within the framework of the team was fundamental to its success. It was this philosophy of teamwork and selflessness that enabled Jackson to convince even the most fiercely competitive players, like, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, to buy into his entire system.
And Phil calls me to his office, goes, hey, we're starting to lose the big fella, and we need him in June. We have a game against the Clippers. Dump the ball in the shack instead of shooting a wide open shot. The 40-point streak ended that night.
Using it along with Kobe and Shaq, as well as Michael and, of course, Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman, his ability to create a balanced, cohesive unit where individual egos were set aside for the greater good was key to this unparalleled success. And doing all of this wasn't easy, and we know the stories about Kobe and Shaq. We know that Michael Jordan is, Michael Jordan. So how did Jackson manage to get the greatest player of all time to buy into his approach so quickly?
And I think it's awesome that I think it's perfect that Jordan ended up with a guy like Phil Jackson as coach, because Jordan could have had the biggest ego that ever existed on the path that he was going on. His level of greatness, like he could have gone that route, but instead with Phil Jackson, we ended up with the Michael Jordan who never talks about just himself. He doesn't like it. He talks about the team, what the team was able to do, what his teammates did, what winning meant for the team. You know, he talks about players that haven't won a championship yet, and he talks about wanting to win them a championship. You know, like he's all about team, and I never hear him say, you know, I'm the greatest, I'm the GOAT. Like he never says this stuff to the media, and I've always respected that about him. And I'm not like I'm taking any credit away from him, but I think that this man right here, Phil, did have an impact on him. And I think young Kobe was different too. Because when Kobe was a young buck coming out of high school, I don't think he saw eye to eye with Phil. He wasn't ready yet. But later on in his career, when they reunited and they were a duo again, Kobe was taking all that information, all that knowledge, and you could see Kobe just transform. Mentally, spiritually, he just transformed into another dude. And in his final years with us here, he was never just talking about me. He was talking about the team and talking about how great everybody else was and giving everybody else their flowers. I think Phil Jackson has a part to play in that.
The answer lies obviously in the coach's approach, as well as his innovative strategies where X's and O's did matter, but so did the ability to coach a player in a way that maximizes their belief in the one true goal, winning as a team.
Yeah,
well, to understand the
go.
success, we have to go back to the early years. Being an assistant for the Chicago Bulls in the 80s and then taking over the head coaching position, Phil Jackson faced the daunting task of convincing MJ, a player known for his unrelenting competitiveness and individual brilliance, to embrace a more team-orientated approach. Jordan's natural inclination was to dominate the game, as he had always done, often taking on the bulk of the scoring responsibility himself. I mean, he was pretty good at that with 10 scoring titles in his career, but Jackson recognized that for the Bulls to reach their full potential, Jordan needed to trust his teammates and the system a little bit more. And one of the key strategies that Jackson employed was then to reframe Michael Jordan's perspective. In a crucial conversation, Jackson simply asked Jordan if he wanted to be remembered for a lifetime of individual accolades or for winning championships. This question struck a chord with Jordan.
I hate to say it, but it's like, do you want to be Bill Russell or Will Chamberlain, you know?
Prompting him to reconsider his priorities and the path to true greatness. To facilitate this shift in the right direction, Jackson introduced the X's and O's that would bind his coaching philosophy with the technical knowledge of Tex Winter into the behemoth it would become. It was time to reveal his secret tactic that would dominate the league for 20 years, the triangle offense. But not the intricate system that was originally conceived by Sam Barry and refined by Tex Winter. It would be the version masterfully adapted by Jackson to suit the unique talent of his players. So how exactly did he do this? Phil wanted to take the Chicago Bulls out of this one-on-one play style and into this motion offense where the motion created from a single pass would create 33 different options from that movement. This was its key to create passes and opportunities to score. A single strategy that could almost not be defended because it created what would feel like an infinite amount of outcomes for a defense to have to handle. Michael Jordan famously called this the equal opportunity offense, but an important thing
Yeah, I remember that.
needs to be pointed out so you understand why it required buy-in by every player to such a high level, and also allowed MJ and Kobe to gather ridiculous scoring stats. Specifically, MJ would get another 7 scoring titles with the triangle, including the 3 he had before, so it's not like it slowed him down. You see, opportunity is the key word here because games hardly ever result in an equal distribution of scoring, but it gave each player the leverage to force their defensive
I'm so sorry, you guys. Look at this pass.
distribution of scoring, but it gave each
Look at that
player
pass
the
by Tony.
leverage to force their defensive counterpart to move around and respect them as they were still able to touch the ball and throw passes. Proper execution of the triangle's guidelines ensures an effectively spaced offense, balancing pressure across the court. Through this, a triangle forms with players continuously moving without the ball, keeping passing and cutting lanes open. It allows for a diverse array of plays, and this fluid dynamic system also required a high level of basketball IQ as well as fundamental skills. This challenged players to think strategically, and the difficult part here was you had to make split-second decisions. And those decisions had to be based on the present moment. If you had missed a few shots or some mistakes that happened, or you were anticipating a whole bunch of threes coming your way, you couldn't think like that. The players needed mindfulness, something the Zen Master heavily focused on, and it was for this purpose he coached in the way he did. It was an entire philosophy from X's and O's to player motivation. Jackson.
Yeah, it's you can't just coach. I just wanted to say you can't just coach the body. You got to coach the freaking mind, man. And Phil was a master of this.
Also used this specific offense because it was a direct response to the defensive strategies employed by opponents, such as the infamous Jordan rules used by the Detroit Pistons to contain Michael Jordan in the 80s.
Jordan rules were for the Pistons to know about, not for anybody else to know about.
The Jordan rules. Is that something you guys made up?
Initially, of course, he resisted the change, struggling to relinquish control and adapt to a more structured offensive approach. However, as the Bulls began to experience success, Jordan started to see the benefits of the triangle and spreading the ball around, leveraging the talent of his teammates. Jackson's unique film sessions also played a crucial role in reinforcing the principles of the offense and highlighting the importance of each player's role in the team's success. No man above the team. As Jordan's trust in the system grew, so did his appreciation for the development of his teammates under Jackson's guidance. That, and he still got to score 30 a night, so, you know.
Yep.
This would lead them
I know,
to...
what a compromise. You go from scoring like 35 to 37 or whatever to 30 a game. But Jordan had to work so much less in that triangle offense. If you watch him when he played for Doug Collins and prior in the mid 80s, you see a guy who's just going 100% all the time, and he's just burning through so much energy constantly, especially offensively, because he played ISO a ton. And then when you watch him later on, about 2 or 3 years seasoned into the triangle offense, you see a whole different dude. He has to work about like 60% of what he did back then, but he's actually producing. He's stat-wise, he's producing less. However, if you watch it, it's better. It's better for everybody, including himself.
To have the second best record in the East in Jackson's first season as head coach. Ultimately, of course, as it is written, they would lose in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Detroit Pistons, who had now knocked them out 3 years in a row.
But we still got to win our turn. We're still trying to improve our team. They were the better team, and they played better today.
However, through Jackson's coaching, the rise of Scottie Pippen as a versatile and invaluable partner on the court further solidified Jordan's belief in the power of teamwork. Together, they formed one of the most formidable duos in NBA history, another one coming up in this video as well. Their complementary skills and shared commitment to the triangle offense made the Bulls a nearly unstoppable force. Along with Pippen and Jordan's full-on commitment and buy-in, the Bulls went on to finally defeat the Pistons and ultimately the Lakers in the 1991 NBA Finals for the first ever championship. Jordan's ability to adapt his game and embrace a more selfless approach was a testament to Jackson's coaching genius and the effectiveness of everything he had taught the team. He successfully transformed Michael Jordan from a singular talent into the linchpin of a dynasty.
Yep.
Jordan's willingness to trust his coach and his teammates not only elevated his own legacy, hitting scoring averages that we probably won't see again, but also set the stage for the Bulls' unprecedented success.
I haven't seen it stacked up like that in a long time. Bear with me for a second. So the youngest we have here is 87, 88. And that's when he had 35. I believe that's when he was DPOY. Oh, yeah, here we go. And he was the MVP as well. So he had a stacked season. 35, 5, 6, 3 steals per game. Unbelievable. 1.6 blocks. I just want to go into like 93 if possible. 92, 93. Here we go. Okay, so that's years seasoned in with Phil and a triangle. So he's getting 32 instead of 35. No big deal. One more rebound a game, which helps. 5.5. Okay, about the same amount of assists. Almost, dude, he was still getting 2.8 steals a game. That's insane. And then 50% of the blocks. Okay, so he wasn't blocking nearly as much by this point, but he was still averaging about a block a game. I'm surprised. Actually, the stats barely moved. So here he is playing a completely different style of play, and he is still basically getting all the same individual stats he was getting, just a little bit less. but he's winning rings now.
That we probably won't see again, but also set the stage for the Bulls' unprecedented success of 6 NBA titles and 2 three-peats in the 1990s. I think most of the world might have already heard about that though.
Yep.
So as the Bulls era came to a close, Jackson then decided to face new challenges with the Los Angeles Lakers, where he would need to integrate another fiercely competitive superstar into his system, Kobe Bryant.
Yep.
However, it wasn't just the emergence of Kobe Bryant as a talent, but really the dominant superstar Shaquille O'Neal. How could he manage both these two dominant personalities and make them into a championship dynasty? Bryant posed a different kind of challenge compared to Michael Jordan. While Jordan had already established himself as a leader and was more receptive to Jackson's philosophy, an almost brotherly relationship if you will.
Kobe's 21. I treated him more like a son. I treated, Michael more like a brother.
Kobe was still forging.
That makes sense. That's probably why there was all that resentment between Kobe and him too during the beginning. I never heard Phil say that. That just puts it all in line because of the age gap. He treated Jordan like a brother, so that was mutual respect, and he treated Kobe like a son. So that was more like Kobe. That's why Kobe wanted to break away from Phil at a certain point. Like we all do with our dads. Shoot. Damn. That puts it right into perspective.
His own path and asserting his dominance on the league. Jackson recognized that Bryant's competitive drive was both a blessing and a potential curse if the Zen Master could not control it for the best results. He needed to find ways to channel Bryant's intensity and leadership tendencies without compromising the team's unity and overall success. One of Jackson's key strategies was to allow Bryant a certain level of autonomy in exploring his game without resorting to that discipline.
Shaq came from a disciplinary, his stepfather was military, right? Yes, sir, no, sir. And whatever you asked him to do and told him to do, he was obedient. Mm-hmm. Kobe was that German Shepherd puppy that nobody ever said no to.
This approach fostered Bryant's self-assurance while gradually integrating him into the team's system and allowed him to use that all-out aggressive attack mode that the team needed for them to succeed, as Jackson explained. Managing the dynamic between Bryant and O'Neal proved to be another significant challenge for Jackson. As Bryant's role and influence grew, O'Neal became increasingly frustrated, perceiving it as a threat to his own dominance. Jackson had to navigate these complex ego clashes with a genius hand.
They're just defined a little territory that's, their area, and I think that's kind of what you see in role playing a lot of times as a coach. You see guys want to have a space that they kind of define as this is my area.
He often communicated with Bryant indirectly through the media, a tactic that initially caused frustration, but was part of Jackson's overarching plan to maintain team equilibrium.
Phil really enjoyed being able to throw those little quotes out there to create that tension. But Phil was very not confrontational.
Yeah, he was.
Right? Very indirect. You couldn't get a straight thing from him. Right? It was always kind of going this way to try to create this tension within the team that he believed in his mind we would figure out later. It's going to be messy now, but when they figure it out, it's going to be like this big kumbaya moment, and the team is just going to rise to a different level.
Despite the
they actually kind of did that for 3 years in a row during that three-peat, though, because they looked like, I remember it in the media and everything, it looked like the team was ready to just crumble because of all the trash talking to each other, all the quotes to the media. It was I'll just say it real, it was a shit show. And then when the playoffs start, they came together and dominated, and they were like high-fiving, celebrating, everyone was happy. And it was like, I started thinking they could pull this off forever. And I think Phil probably did too, until it just got too bad. It got too bad where they couldn't bring it together, and there was no more kumbaya moment ever again.
Tensions and conflicts between Bryant and O'Neal, both publicly and privately, Jackson managed to keep the team focused on their collective goals. He believed in allowing players to discover their own path within the framework of the team, and this approach was particularly effective in managing strong personalities like Bryant's. He came to appreciate the importance of putting the team's needs above his own personal achievements. Now, hold the thing that you're thinking in your head for a second. Yes, that wasn't always the case, But through Jackson's coaching, through Jackson's triangle, through his ability to make Kobe and Shaq and the rest of their teams focus on winning championships, the Lakers under Phil Jackson's leadership were able to three-peat yet again. Think about that for a second. Phil Jackson had three-peated, 2-year break due to Michael Jordan's retirement, another three-peat, a 1-year break while he moved to the Lakers, and then another three-peat. What a ridiculous 12-year period.
It is.
A testament to the effectiveness of, again, his ego management strategies and the ability to unite the team around a common purpose. Jackson's success in managing Bryant's integration into the team and navigating the complex dynamics between him and Shaq. Now, yes, Phil and Kobe did have a lot of friction at the end of the three-peat. Shaq and Kobe as well. Shaq moves on to Miami and wins another chip. Kobe decides to chase those personal accolades. He realizes that he underappreciated Phil Jackson's approach, even though he did buy in for that championship run. Well, he bought in because Shaq would, come into camp a bit out of shape and sort of only really play for the playoffs. And Kobe loved that because Phil Jackson allowed him to absolutely play free, to absolutely dominate the game while Shaq was really working his way in or coming back from injuries.
You playing yourself in the shape throughout the course of the season gave me the opportunity to do more, and to expand, to try different things and push different things. And then when you got in shape, it was hard then to try for Phil to try to dial that back. Right? Because I'm out there going 40, 45, 50, all sorts of stuff. It feels like, okay, we got to rein you back in now.
However, the friction between Shaq, Kobe, the Lakers, as well as Phil Jackson meant that Phil Jackson retired from coaching. He took a break. While Kobe was lighting it up for those personal accolades, he realized that he did not appreciate Phil Jackson's coaching. He did not appreciate what he brought to the table in terms of winning culture. And after
the difference between Jordan and Kobe's journey with Phil is that Jordan got Phil after, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88. So after 5 years without Phil. And so for his first 5 years, he had nothing to do out there outside of, obviously try to win as many games as possible. But the team wasn't great. And he was out there just like earning every accolade you can possibly imagine, scoring titles. He even got a DPOY and, just you name it. He was out there crushing the league individually and made a name for himself. And then when he got Phil, now it was winning time. So he already proved himself as an individual. Now it's time to prove himself as, a leader. Kobe had, by the time Kobe was actually playing like real solid minutes in the NBA, he got Phil. So Kobe never really got that opportunity to go out there and prove himself as an individual. He was immediately thrown into a situation where it's time to win now. It's time to win now. It's all about the team. And, him and Shaq were leaders. So I don't think Kobe got to appreciate what Phil was actually doing until later on. So Phil leaves. Kobe for 2 years is chasing individual accolades. So now he's like rookie Jordan, and proving to the whole world how great he is. And we all saw it. We all knew. And then Phil comes back and then they start winning championships because Kobe had now matured to the level that he can appreciate Phil. I hope this all makes sense to you guys because in my head, it's making perfect sense. But yeah, that's the only reason why it went down that way. Kobe wasn't ready when he was 19, 20 years old for Phil Jackson. He was just getting into the league and wanting to make a splash, wanting to make a name for himself. Excuse me. And Phil, he's all about team and he's all about winning. But that's why I do love how their story ends is those final years that they had together. They went to 3 NBA finals. They won 2 out of 3. And the mutual respect between them, I never imagined I would have seen that type of bond and respect that these two had for each other. I thought they were going to hate each other for life. But that one, I don't normally say it, but thank you, Jeannie Buss, on that one. Good call on getting Phil to come back.
Did not appreciate what he brought to the table in terms of winning culture. And after about a year away from each other, Phil Jackson comes back to once again coach the Lakers and Kobe Bryant. They would struggle for a few seasons to really find their groove with much weaker teams than Phil Jackson was used to coaching. But it was Kobe's turn. He wanted to lead championship winning rosters. The Lakers brought in Pau Gasol, they made some changes. And guess what? Using the same coaching approach, the same triangle offense, the tried and true Zen master coaching philosophy of inner mindfulness on the basketball court and team bonding with a highly complicated yet insanely flexible, beautiful triangle offense, Jackson taking them to 3 straight finals and winning another back-to-back with a more matured and respectful Kobe Bryant. On 4 different occasions, reaching the final 3 straight times is absolutely ridiculous by a player and coaching standards. And Phil Jackson came out with an astounding 11 NBA championships, and the system would pass into legend.
As much as you want a player that shows some talent to do something you want to do on your team, you have to look at what he really is and what it's really about and use his attributes for what it is.
The effectiveness was undeniable. Beyond its technical brilliance, the triangle also served as a vehicle for player empowerment.
I was extremely naive. And with Phil and his genius, his responsibility was to get the team to a place to win titles.
Yep.
As the Bulls and Lakers...
That's cool he admits it, though, that he was naive back then. We all were. Come on, 19, 20 years old. We were all naive as hell. Young adults. We just became adults, you know? So for him to inherit a father figure at that age on a professional level, I'd be rebelling too. When I was that age, I would have rebelled too. I remember who I was.
Dynasties dominated the NBA landscape. It became clear that Phil Jackson's triangle offense was more than just tactical innovation. It represented his ability to adapt, innovate, and inspire greatness in his players. As Jackson's coaching career came to a close the season following his final title with the Lakers in 2010, his legacy extended far beyond the 11 rings adorning his fingers. And I guess a toe. His coaching philosophy revolutionized the way teams were led and managed. His emphasis on mindfulness, self-discovery, and personal growth inspired countless coaches to look beyond the X's and O's of the game and focus on the mental and emotional well-being of their players. And when you had a great understanding of the game and you were able to implement the fundamentals and strategies that maximize the talents of your players, you combine them, and that something will allow sustained championship windows for those that look to become the greatest of their generation. The Zen Master's legacy serves as an example of what can be accomplished when a coach combines strategic mastery with a deep understanding of how to motivate players and inspire them to reach heights they never thought possible.
It's a moment. That's Zen Buddhism shit. Y'all get in the moment and stay here.
That was MJ after winning his 6th championship. That's hilarious. That's Zen Master bullshit. Get in the moment and stay here. That's a good way to define mindfulness. Oh man, you know the Phil mentality though. If the star does not buy in, it does not work. And so anybody thinking like, oh, it's just Phil. No, Phil is half of it. Phil opened a door and the star needed to walk through. Jordan did it. Kobe eventually did it. And Carmelo never did it. Because a lot of people forget that Phil Jackson coached Melo in New York. And that's where it ended. He met a dude where it didn't work and there was no buy-in, and it just didn't go well over there in New York whatsoever. But I did not see Carmelo adapting his game under Phil Jackson like I saw Kobe and MJ do it. So I always assumed there was no official buy-in, like real buy-in from Melo. But MJ bought in, got 6 rings. Kobe bought in, got 5, you know, and 2 on his own, where he can really say, yeah, I don't know. This was a great video, you guys. I'm gonna actually subscribe right now. This is the GOAT Authority YouTube channel. I thought this was a fantastic video, so I'm looking forward to more stuff from this channel in the future. Let me know what you guys thought, and what do you guys think about Phil? I mean, we covered so much here. I didn't cover the end of Phil's career. I was kind of hoping they did that because that's, you know, I know this is a video talking about how he destroyed everyone, but I would like to also see how sometimes it just doesn't work. You know, it's not like some foolproof philosophy, because it is relying on other humans with big egos to buy in and to kind of diminish their ego in order to make this a winning system. All right, everyone, I'm out with that. And yeah, leave the video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. If you do, I'll see you tomorrow morning on the next one. Everyone, thank you for being here. Tell your loved ones you love them. Be good to your people, all right? And have a safe and wonderful night, okay? All right. Good night, everybody.